biggest probably challenge we have as an industry collectively is that, again, how do we sort of work together in terms of creating this sort of seamless corridor of moving cargo across the globe seamlessly? That somehow, industries is still unable to achieve. You still see cargo sitting at customs for clearance for almost a week or 2 weeks in some countries around the world. How do we address some of these fundamental sort of questions? And then how do we, have bilaterals amongst countries, among different nations that allow seamless movement of commodities around the world?
Hi, good afternoon. Can I request everyone to settle and take you a seat? Love is in the air. Flowers have been in the air in the last few days. And if you don't, I'm sure that some of you are holding flowers. If you don't have a flower, pick up this magazine that has a flower on the cover. And I must tell you, this is a picture that I have taken from a farm in Nairobi. During my visit, we do conference in Nairobi, and I make it a point to meet exporters, flower growers, and this is from one of the flower farms in Nairobi. I know Nabil since 2013 November. That's when I joined Stat Media Group, and that's when I started writing about a subject which I knew nothing about. And I think the first meeting that I had with him was an informal meeting, was in Air Cargo India 2014. I think, as far as I know, Nabil was not planned to attend this event, and I remember having a conversation with him a few months back in Singapore. I'd said that I would like to have you at the event in Mumbai. It is going to be a new place, and it's a 10th edition of Air Cargo India, which started in 2006, and Nabil also completed 10 years as the head of cargo in Emirates last year. Nabil, great to have you, and it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. As I said, 2013, I knew nothing about logistics, nothing about transportation. I did not write anything about air cargo. I think over a period of time, conversations with people like you, that I have learned a lot, and I continue to learn. Nabil is quite familiar with India. He has been in India and UK. I think he spent about 8 years. And if I'm not wrong, I think you were also part of the first batch of Emirates Management Training Program. And you've been somebody who is a reliable source of information for air cargo in the global air cargo industry. I heard a lot of important points being discussed in the previous discussion, KPI, digitalization. Somebody mentioned, I heard the word was dinosaur in the room. I think there are certain processes which are very old. It is time for us to change. As I speak, we also see that Indian Prime Minister is in the United Arab Emirates, and with India's relationship with the UAE has been very positive, and there's a lot of bilateral trade that happens. So I think there's a lot of things to be discussed in terms of what air cargo can do for the global economy and what air cargo can do for Indian exporters and Indian importers. Nabil, I'll start with the simplest of the questions, picking up from some of the highlights from 2023. Cargo carried increased 7% year on year to 1.18 million tons between January mid, and you have your financial results coming later. We have April to March as a financial year. If I have to ask you, what are some of the key highlights that you would like to pick from 2023? What will they be?
Well, thank you, Reji, for the wonderful introduction. Of course, it's great to be in India, attending the Air Cargo India. It's a very important event, and of course, India being one of the big strategic market for Emirates. Of course, it's always been quite interesting to be here to interact with the trade, with our customers, and really get much more closer to them, sort of in terms of understanding, what's new, what's their expectation from us, and therefore our presence is so essential here to sort of take all that feedback and hopefully work on improving things, getting much more closer and better. Of course, 2023 has been an incredible year for us, almost coming off the COVID. This is probably where we've seen a little bit of sort of normalization after the huge boom that we have seen for logistics during the COVID era. And coming out of that period, we start to see some normalization in terms of, the volumes of the business as a lot of the sort of capacity started to go back again in the market. As you know, I think most of the airline have sort of reduced their capacity or almost suspended capacity during the COVID simply because there was no travel. So for a lot of airlines, I think getting back again, started to sort of operate into different markets is obviously a huge task. I mean, you've had aircraft literally parked for a number of years doing nothing. And then to get those aircraft back again to sort of operate is a mammoth task. I mean, in terms of the maintenance that needs to take place, getting all the crew back again on the training and so on and so forth. So that coupled with, of course, all the challenges as the demand almost continued after the COVID, in terms of moving essential goods and vaccines and so on and so forth into some form of normalization where the general cargo start to sort of then move in, was a huge transition. But yeah, I think 2023 was crucial in terms of getting back to the market, doing almost business as usual, ensuring, of course, that a lot of airports, ground handling are able to sort of cope with this massive demand after we've seen actually massive attrition rates happening almost across all airports around the world. So ensuring that, the people are there, the trained staff are there to sort of deal with the volume, post-COVID was absolutely essential and challenging. But again, I think, demand continued to be quite robust. And it has almost transitioned into 2024, where we continue to see a growing demand, especially I think we've seen in the e-commerce industry where there's almost been a boom. We've seen, double-digit growth almost across all big sort of manufacturing hubs, big industrial areas, where we continue to sort of see almost growth happening across the board. So it's exciting. I think, the industry, I think, is definitely back on its feet. I think there's a huge learning through the COVID for the whole entire industry. And I've heard earlier that, talking about the technology, talking about digitalization, that is absolutely needed in the industry to sort of help grow this incredible and massive industry that is absolutely sort of needed. And of course, throughout the years, I think in the past, there was a lot of discussion about how do we convert into sort of a seamless e-freight sort of movement of goods and commodities around the world. And, how do we achieve that? And how do we ensure that commodity moves seamlessly across the globe without sort of being restricted or delayed at any sort of port or customs? And I think with the capabilities that we have in terms of the technology, I think a lot of information could be provided to different sort of level of authorities that allows us to actually activate a lot of this e-freight, which I believe is quite essential for the next era and for us to, again, grow this business seamlessly.
Nabil, for Emirates SkyCargo, 1.84 million tons through mid-December. We are still in the last quarter of the FY 2024. You will have the numbers coming sometime in May. What do you hope would be the approximate cargo tons of volume that would be carried?
Well, I think, pre-COVID, we've done almost about 2.5 million tons annual throughput as Emirates. Of course, Emirates being probably one of the largest international air transport in the world today, especially with the sort of reach that we have across the globe. I mean, Emirates does not have any sort of narrow-body aircraft. It's all wide-body aircraft that consist of 777s and A380s. So any destination that we operate to, we almost have a mini freighter going to a lot of these destinations around the world, whether it's a major city, secondary city, or a small town that we operate to. And of course, as a strategy, we've always adapted the fact that, we don't operate to any destination. It's almost a daily flight minimum. So with that, I think you have almost substantial capacity into almost 140, 150 destinations around the world, with wide body, substantial cargo capacity that gets deployed into that market. So yeah, I think the anticipation, we should be able to sort of cross almost 2 million ton annual throughput, hopefully this year. Of course, there's a lot of challenges that are out there, but I think, with all the sort of geopolitical sort of scenes that we're seeing, across different area in the region. I think that there are certainly challenges. There are certain markets that you almost have to sort of shut down and look for other opportunities. But with all of that, I believe there's still some big opportunities for a lot of markets around us to sort of grow.
Nabil, priorities for 2024? One or two?
Well, as I said, I think earlier, I think digitalization is key success factor that we are actually looking at very seriously. I think we already started the ball rolling with digitalizing all our sort of distribution channel today to ensure that the customer, the trade, is able to have sort of access to our inventory, to our pricing, almost seamlessly without any delay. I think the days of sending circulars through emails and faxes are history, are gone. You almost need sort of an integrated sort of technology that allows the trade to sort of have access to everything that we're doing in terms of, capacity expansion, reduction, so on and so forth. And I think that's going to be a key priority for us this year, to ensure that, customers have real-time access to all our inventories or capacity. And I think that's going to be a key critical area. Of course, the second other priorities would be to sort of expand the freighter network into key production market. I think we're clearly seeing a major shift in a lot of the sort of manufacturing world, where we actually have seen India kind of emerged and really take a global stand as a key manufacturing nation. We've seen, I think, after the COVID, India have developed an incredible sort of level of confidence, trust in the global stage, and which to me, I think, invites a lot of sort of investors and big global manufacturers to come and base themselves in India. We've already seen mega companies that came in already and established themselves either in north of India or south of India. This is quite promising. I think it's an incredible momentum. And of course, as an air freight operator, it's crucial for us also to reevaluate, reassess our capacity deployment and be able to sort of address some of these new emerging sort of market where we're able to sort of deploy the capacity where it's needed. Again, to support the local economy, to ensure that we actually create the gateway point for a lot of these manufacturers to sort of export their goods across the world. So I think that's going to be quite crucial for us over 2024.
2024 is very important to Emirates SkyCargo, as you are expected to take delivery of 4 brand new 777 freighters, followed by the 5th one in early 2025. Are you getting them as per the schedule? Do you foresee a delay given the kind of complex supply chain crisis that the plane maker is going through?
Well, I think clearly, we've seen, some of the, aircraft manufacturers, especially probably Boeing, has been going through some challenges. Having said that, I think we're still getting our aircraft more or less on time with some minor delays. But yeah, I think hopefully we should be able to get all the 5 sort of aircraft within 2024 this year, with maybe a month or 2 delay, which should not be a huge impact. And of course, this addition of freighter capacity will be absolutely essential for us, again, to continue to sort of grow market and look at new emerging markets. And I'm sure India will be a key focal point for us in terms of adding additional capacity where it's needed. I mean, today we already operate 175 flights into India. These are all passenger, of course, wide-body aircraft, covering almost 9 destinations across India. And then we supplement all of that with additional freighter capacity, of course, into Mumbai, Ahmedabad, where still there's some production happening there. We also have some freighter operation supplementing our passenger flights into south of India. So we continue to sort of, ensure that wherever this additional freighter capacity is needed is actually provided. And I think once, hopefully, we have the additional 5 brand new aircrafts, hopefully arriving this year, that will also give us a little bit more flexibility in having far more sort of scheduled, planned, additional capacity into some of these key production markets in India.
Something that we heard in the previous discussion, and this is what I hear in my conversation with a lot of the air cargo industry leaders, is sweating your assets. Will these 5 777Fs as you add to your current fleet, you already have 11 777Fs. Do you plan to retire some of them which are older one in your current fleet?
Yes, I think we will retire a few of those. Again, it's all depends on how we sort of see the market demand is. But right now, yeah, we're probably retiring a couple of those freighters. But again, in the pipeline, we also are doing multiple conversion of our existing 777 ER passenger aircraft. Again, an incredible aircraft that we have been using for quite some time. And I think those are some of the aircraft that we have already signed up for almost 10 conversion of those aircraft into a full-fledged freighter capacity. Again, we'll supplement our passenger belly capacity that we deploy across the globe. And again, I just want to sort of remind everyone, I think for us, the passenger capacity that we deploy is quite substantial. I mean, when you have 175 passenger aircraft covering 9 destinations, nothing like less than almost daily flights into different point of call across India. That's almost, you're providing a mini freighter operating daily into some of these main cities and secondary cities. So the passenger belly within itself, as I said, is almost like a mini freighter. But of course, to supplement all of that with this additional freighter capacity where it's needed, really create a huge capacity for the exporter out of India. And of course, for us, when you look across the spectrum, I mean, today, we're almost moving large amount of perishable, of course, across the GCC, Middle East, Europe, from south of India, from north of India. And I think, north of India, there's definitely more drive for even more moving more perishable. We've seen a lot of sort of electronics that continues to move, whether it be mobile phones or home appliances, different type of commodities. So, there's definitely a huge mix of commodity that is growing now substantially out of the Indian markets, and providing that well-needed capacity over this year and next year is going to be absolutely essential to continue to work with our partners.
In the last 18 to almost 2 years, there had been a dip in the global air freight market. I remember the conversation that I had with you a few months back, where you had by then already announced that because of the strong customer demand, you had to actually bring in 747s to fill that capacity, fulfill that demand. Do you expect to have the 747s still operational for a long term?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we already have 11 freighter, which is the 777Fs production that we have. This year, we have already contracted additional 3 747s, which again, some of them are being deployed as we speak to south of India to be able to sort of cater for some of the demand that is emerging out of there. Of course, we will continue to sort of add capacity, whether it be ad hoc capacity to address certain gaps if there are certain delays with some of our manufacturers, or being able to sort of add to our existing capacity. So, we continue to sort of assess, evaluate the landscape, the business opportunity, the production market, and then be able to sort of deploy capacity where it's needed.
I'll come back to your discussion on the converted freighters, the 10 Boeing 777-300ER. We saw that the big twin on display at the Dubai Air Show last year. Of course, very good aircraft in terms of volume, 30% more than your production freighter on the 200 platform. Are you getting the converted freighters on time, or is there a delay? And since this is meant for a lot of volume play, volume to be carried, will you be deploying them on key e-commerce trade lanes?
I think that the 777ER probably is the most successful aircraft from our perspective. I mean, these are aircraft that we already own. We have almost 63 777ERs that is operated by our passenger colleagues. These are sort of we probably have the largest stockhold of these aircraft. And of course, as they sort of retire from its passenger side of the business, we will convert these aircraft. And it's incredible in terms of the volume of this aircraft. It has a slightly larger fuselage, so it is a perfect aircraft for e-commerce. It's a super sort of volumetric aircraft that gives you almost additional 11 pallets per more than the normal production freighter. So it's a super good aircraft, and I think it'll be perfect for the e-commerce sort of industry that is emerging now everywhere. Perfect aircraft to sort of plug in to address that kind of business.
Nabil, how strong is your optimism for cargo coming from e-commerce channels? And have you identified specific trade lanes where you've seen that there is a substantial growth in e-commerce volume? And will that be the trade lanes where these aircraft, as and when they join your fleet, will be deployed?
Well, I guess we're already seeing actually a huge surge in e-commerce across the globe. Of course, I'm sure you've all heard about Shein and Temu, which is one of the largest sort of e-commerce companies that are literally shipping thousands of tons across the globe. And today, I think e-commerce have really, in my view, become a savior for the air freight industry, if you like. When you look across all the various other commodities, I mean, the growth has almost very much been a flat line or slight sort of increase. The majority of the air freight sort of growth has come in from e-commerce, and I think we're probably seeing this in our own household today. I think the younger generation ordering goods have become almost the norm, especially after COVID. So in my view, I think e-commerce will continue to grow exponentially across the globe in different markets. And there are sort of limited market for e-commerce in terms of production. So India definitely is one of the probably big market that needs to be looked at. And I'm sure in the coming years, we will see a lot of sort of new emergence with regard to e-commerce in different parts of the world. Again, the challenge and the question is how easy it becomes for a lot of these sort of nations to be able to sort of address their infrastructure, their airport logistics, and make movement of these e-commerce seamless. That to me is I think believes is probably a key success factor for a nation who wish to attract sort of e-commerce as a main sort of industry. So it'll be interesting to see how the spectrum will eventually fare out, but I think there's definitely a number of countries that are eyeing this massively growing sort of industry, and I think India definitely needs to be probably in that space.
Since we are on e-commerce, discussing e-commerce and the volume coming for air cargo industry, let's talk about Emirates Delivers. Looks like a very successful product launched in October 2019, bringing the best of US shopping to the UAE first. Last year you added Kuwait, and in 2022 UK was added. Where else do you intend to launch this product?
Well, I mean, to be honest, Emirates Deliver is a fairly small product. It's not a massive sort of, if you like, express movement of goods and commodities. But of course, in the GCC market, we've always had demand for a lot of our sort of passenger customers, demanding literally that, they would like to sort of buy things from different retailers around the world, and they would like their shipments to be sort of delivered to them. So we said, yeah, why not create a unique product for the GCC market that helps move commodities much more faster. Of course, with our network, with the number of frequency that we deploy across Europe, USA, it's a no-brainer for us to sort of use some of that, capacity to be able to again activate some of these products that allows our customers to purchase from any retailer across Europe, USA, and literally be able to get their shipment almost the same day or next day. Again, this is all made possible because of our high frequency into a lot of these sort of different cities across Europe, USA, or even Asia in the future. So we're looking at that. I think customers are really liking it. And as in, to me, I think if a customer wants to sort of get any sort of commodity that he wants to buy from across the world, I believe with our network, we should be able to sort of deliver it to him almost same day or next day.
Nabil, Middle East is becoming a powerhouse of cargo movement. It's always been with key airports handling substantial volumes of cargo between DXB and DWC. Annual cargo throughput is over 3.4 million tons. And Emirates plays a significant role in the contribution to that overall volume of cargo. How will Emirates SkyCargo play a key leadership role in the Dubai 2033 agenda? And we also seen the kind of bilateral relationship between India and the UAE the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. These are significant political and economic development which will add substantial value to what air cargo industry plays.
There's no question that, with the infrastructure that we have today in Dubai, between, connecting the whole entire air freight industry with the maritime, DP World in Jebel Ali, you've almost have massive opportunity to ensure that, we create a gateway that again allows a lot of those sort of our customers, our traders, to sort of move goods and commodities to Dubai or beyond. And I think today with Emirates network being there, that across covering almost 150 destination across the globe with wide body aircraft with high number of frequency, again it's a no-brainer for us to be able to sort of really take advantage of that and allow a lot of sort of movement and for our customers, again in a much more faster, reliable manner. Again, I think being closer to an incredible nation like India here, which is a huge production market. Today, we move substantial amount of sort of pharmaceutical from India, south of India to USA, to Europe. Again, using the capability, the infrastructure, we have, the government have invested massively into creating almost a cool chain facility, the purpose-built sort of pharmaceutical infrastructure and facility, which actually allows us to sort of manage this whole pharmaceutical movement that happens today big time actually out of India. So, addressing a lot of the markets in Europe and USA. So there's definitely a merit for us to be sort of, managing this movement. And of course, what we've seen recently also, there's massive growth in sea air movement, which is again becoming almost center stage with all the sort of geopolitical issues that we have on the Red Sea. I believe that there's huge demand for us, again, to cut the journey time by, combining both maritime and air freight from Dubai and be able to actually get the commodity, let's say, from a key production market in, across Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, into Europe, almost within, 12 to 13 days, versus today, probably you're talking about a good 2 months delivery on the maritime, especially with the fact that a lot of the sailing now has to go all the way via South Africa. So I think probably the industry needs a middle type sort of product. It's not air freight, which probably is for only limited to certain commodities, not sea freight, which takes probably 2 months to get delivered, but something in between, but yet economically viable. So I think we should start to see, I think, some bigger sort of movement of sea air from key production market into Europe, USA, and vice versa, by the way. I mean, I was just told recently that we had a shipment, literally sea air, moving from Brussels to Australia. And the first leg of it is via maritime, and then the second leg to Australia is air freighted. So I think the dynamic of multimodal is absolutely changing. We're probably going to see a lot of sort of different multimodal transportation happening for goods across the globe as this whole sort of geopolitical scene sort of changes. And I think, again, a lot of this industry will probably get far more familiar with the concept of sea air. I mean, today, the biggest advantage that we have in Dubai is that we're able to sort of transit sea air cargo, between almost maritime to air freight within hours as opposed to days. We can literally achieve almost 3 to 4 hours transiting time. This is all starting from almost offloading 20 or 40-foot container, breaking it down, building the whole container in an air freight sort of containers, then being able to ship it to its final destination. Now, 3 or 4 hours is unheard of, but I think these are the sort of capability and the infrastructure that we have in Dubai that really allows us to sort of, be at the forefront of this new sort of emerging maritime sort of air freight transportation forum.
Nabil, let's talk about AI, artificial intelligence. It looks like that's one thing which has a solution for everything that challenges that we face, large language models, robotics, automation. What is the discussion around these topics at SkyCargo leadership level?
Well, I guess AI is a topic, probably a discussion happening across industry, across the globe. I mean, it's an interesting technology that one had to sort of look at, evaluate. Of course, there is still a lot of uncertainty around artificial intelligence and how and the use of it. And I think right now, probably, I mean, Emirates, we're looking at that very seriously. And most of the sort of initiative that are taking place, probably to start with, is that how can we sort of look at this artificial intelligence in terms of, providing information only internally within the company. Again, to sort of allow our staff worldwide to have access to sort of any specific rules, regulation, process that they want to have, instead of referring back to a good old manual that's probably sitting there. It's you can ask your device the question, and bang, you've got the answer. And I think this is probably the beginning of how we sort of use these artificial intelligence to sort of, again, bring in a lot of efficiency globally into our workforce. Whether we will be able to sort of use artificial intelligence in the broader spectrum where you're sharing it with the outside world is yet to be seen, because obviously I'm sure a lot of companies have a lot of confidential information that they, related to their trade, which they might not want to wish to share with the rest of the world. But so these are, I think, the limitation that one has to sort of look for. But yeah, I think it's the way forward. I think robotics and automation is something that is badly needed for actually our industry, managing our warehouses, managing our infrastructure that we have, and making it far more robust, efficient, and being able to sort of, improve the efficiency and the speed of handling our infrastructure and facility. I think without this sort of technology, it's going to be quite difficult to sort of move forward. But yeah, I think it's essential moving forward.
Nabil, you have spoken a lot about India and the relationship and the trade between India and UAE, and how much of the air cargo movement is actually done by Emirates SkyCargo. My last question, you completed 10 years last year as the head of cargo at Emirates. What is your message to the industry at large and your colleagues around here?
Well, I think I think I think I've heard the earlier question, and to me, I think the biggest probably challenge we have as an industry collectively is that, again, how do we sort of work together in terms of creating this sort of seamless corridor of moving cargo across the globe seamlessly? That somehow, industries is still unable to achieve. You still see cargo sitting at customs for clearance for almost a week or 2 weeks in some countries around the world. How do we address some of these fundamental sort of questions? And then how do we, have bilaterals amongst countries, among different nations, that allow seamless movement of commodities around the world? In the past, maybe there's been some limitation, but I honestly believe that investing in technology moving forward, and this goes for the airline, for the trade, freight forwarding community, everyone, we have to work jointly, I think collectively, to really sort of invest in some of these sort of technology to at least work with governments and authorities to provide the information that they need, so that they are also satisfied, doing their work in terms of securing their ports, their countries. But I believe that the information could easily be readily available to a lot of authorities that allows us to conduct our business in a far more efficient way. I think the days are gone where your infrastructure that you invest in, you use it as a warehouse where you're keeping goods there for days and weeks. It's just that is no longer an option in my view. And I think for us to progress this and ensure that we all collectively invest in a seamless technology that enables us to sort of talk to each other under the one code sort of number to identify any commodity that is moving throughout the world, probably is the futuristic outlook that we all need to sort of work toward. And I think that, to be honest, COVID was a big eye opener for all of us. That there's definitely a lot of gaps in our industry that needs to be addressed. So my biggest probably ask for the industry is that let's do this together. I believe the technology exists today. The questions that we need to put our hands together, our minds together, and make sure that we channel the investment collectively in the right sort of channel to be able to eventually get the final outcome.
Yeah, there are significant gaps within the industry, and I think if I were to condense the essential points of the talk in terms of a hashtags, you have sweat to your assets, sustainability, digitalization, infrastructure, collaboration, and something called APIs. If APIs can actually talk to different systems, when I talk about APIs, it's application programming interface. I think that actually brings down the gap between different systems. So perhaps we need to have an application of an API within ourselves to make sure that we reduce that gap. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, Nabil, and I'm really glad that you found time to join us. I must also tell you that Emirates and Stat Media Group have a long relationship. Emirates was founded in 1985, and Stat Media Group was founded on the following year in 1986. And if Mr. R.K. Patra, the founder of the, is around, I just want to ask him to come up to give away a token of appreciation to Nabil Sultan. It's been a great talking to you, and I really wish all the very best to you. And I hope that we have many more opportunities to have such conversation. I always enjoy whatever the conversation that we have, formal, informal. Really appreciate. Great to have you. A big round of applause to Nabil Sultan.
Thank you, Reji. Thank you very much. Hello, hi. How are you?
Very nice.
Great. Wonderful.
Remember, 10 years back at Bombay Exhibition Center,
Yes, of
you
course.
told me to change the venue. Now it's changed.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And it's for you.
It's
I'm happy that
wonderful.
you're back again in a good venue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir. And Mr. Patra, I'm on stage. Indeed, such a privilege to be handing over this bouquet and
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Nabil Sultan.
Thank you.
Nice big
Wonderful.
round of applause
Wonderful.
once again, ladies and gentlemen. What a fabulous session here.